This is Coast to Coast AM with Art Bell on the Premier Radio Network.
Art Bell, who's lucky he's not glowing in the dark. I don't think I am. Yet, anyway. The whole story of the outage, the bizarre circumstances surrounding the outage last night, if that's what you want to call it, I call it an electromagnetic attack. And I don't raise the level of verbiage frequently that high. Electromagnetic attack on this valley last night. That's what happened. We've got the proof on my website right now. Go sift through it for yourself. Terrestrial microwave, satellite microwave frequencies separated by many gigahertz, all deader than a doornail as something descended on this valley. That story on the website is coming up in a moment. Mysteries of the Sacred Universe is the book. That sounds pretty good, huh? Mysteries of the Sacred Universe. Dr. Thompson is going to be my guest. I think Dr. Richard L. Thompson, in fact, is a mathematician who received his Ph.D. in probability theory and statistical mechanics from Cornell University in 1974. He has written over 25 academic papers, scripts for several video productions, and several books on science and philosophy, including Vedic Cosmography and Astronomy, Alien Identities, Mechanistic and Non-Mechanistic Science with Michael Cremo, Forbidden Archaeology, he was co-author, and The Hidden History of the Human Race. He also has a number of published works in the field of mathematical biology. But in a moment, for the most part, we're going to talk about mysteries of the sacred universe coming up next. All right, Dr. Thompson, welcome to the program.
Well, thank you.
It's great to have you. It's hard to even know where to begin. A lot of your work is very technical. You're a mathematician. And a lot of the research is very technical. I guess I would begin by asking you your title, Mysteries of the Sacred Universe. What exactly are the mysteries?
Well, what happened is that I was involved in studying an ancient text which describes the universe. And at the first glance, this looks like a mythological description. It talks about the universe in terms of geography. It appears to describe what you could call the flat Earth. But what I found on looking more closely at this ancient document is that it's actually giving a very sophisticated description of the solar system and of a number of other features of which are only known in modern astronomy. So this is somewhat mysterious. I also found that the basic geographical description of cosmology, which is given in the text, is found all over the world. And this is also a bit mysterious in that it indicates that certain ideas were apparently spread all over the world long before Columbus and modern exploration.
How much earlier?
Well, the traditional date for the text, of course, is something a bit controversial. The text traditionally is dated to be about 3000 B.C., and I can tell you a story about that date also.
3000
But
BC.
in terms of modern accepted scholarship, the text dates back from anything to 1,000 years ago to 2,000 years ago.
All of this is leading up to evidence, you feel, for a scientifically advanced civilization in the distant past. How distant?
Well, what basically I ran into in studying this text is what you could call a serendipitous discovery. I was looking at the description of this flat Earth, which is in the text, and I found evidence that it contains a map of the solar system.
In other words, we all know that long ago people thought the Earth was, in fact, flat. And you thought that's what you were looking at was a description of a flat Earth.
Right. That's what it certainly seems to be. I mean, literally it says that. We're dealing with the Earth as a disk.
Okay.
And it's flat, which is what people supposedly believed
Right.
long ago, before they had the scientific knowledge that the Earth is a globe.
Only you have determined it was not that at all, but rather a description of the universe?
Yes, of the solar system. In fact, you see, one interesting thing about the solar system, the planets orbit all in just about the same plane. I'll use the word ecliptic a lot, probably. If you take the Earth as a fixed center point for reference purposes, the Sun seems to go around the Earth in a big orbit.
Right.
And the plane of that orbit is called the ecliptic. And all of the planets orbit in nearly the same plane. They orbit in planes that are tilted by maybe, let's say, 5 degrees at most from the ecliptic plane. So if you look at all the planetary orbits, basically that is flat. And it turns out that the flat Earth actually was that plane of the solar system. So to get back to your original question, what does this have to do with an ancient, a more scientifically advanced civilization?
Mm-hmm.
Well, the dimensions of the orbits, as indicated from the text, and I'll tell you how you arrive at this, but the basic conclusion is that these dimensions are quite accurate from the point of view of modern astronomy.
And how could they possibly have known?
Right. How could they have known that? Either it's all a coincidence, just the numbers happen to come out that way.
What are the odds? You're a mathematician.
Well, the odds are very small. We can talk more about the whole topic of coincidence in these kinds of studies, too. But just briefly, the odds, I calculated about 1 in 20,000.
About 1 in 20,000 that they would match.
That things would match as closely as they did.
All right. You were the co-author of Forbidden Archaeology. Forbidden Archaeology seemed to suggest that early man was using more scientific tools or tools earlier than he should have been, that there was knowledge back then that should not have been. And there are artifacts that have been recovered from the Earth that would certainly suggest there were things going on back there that should not have been in the time of early man. Is that roughly correct?
Well, yes. Forbidden Archaeology gives evidence that at least tool-making human beings, or hominids as they call them, were in existence long before the accepted time frame.
How much longer, roughly?
Well, that gives evidence going back for millions of years.
Millions of years?
Yeah.
All right. In your new book, you're looking at the possibility of a scientifically advanced civilization that would go back how far?
Well, we're talking about thousands of years. We don't have an exact figure for the date, but the basic argument goes like this. Let us suppose, for the sake of argument, that people really did have a more accurate knowledge of the solar system at some time in the past. Well, you can ask when. If you go back, say, to the Middle Ages, it's known that astronomical knowledge at that time was pretty crude. And, in fact, they didn't have a very good knowledge of the solar system. So it couldn't have been then. Then you have to go back further. You can take it back to the time, well, the best astronomer of antiquity that is known is Ptolemy, who lived around 200 A.D.
Mm-hmm.
So in those days, they couldn't have had the more advanced knowledge, because his knowledge wasn't so advanced. And then supposedly things get more primitive as you go back to the early Greeks and so on.
Right.
We can trace things back, let's say, to the Babylonian astronomy. You go back to around 700 B.C. or so with that, and that was pretty crude.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to go back to an earlier time in order to find a period in which the more advanced knowledge could have been known.
How much earlier? I mean, here we're already talking about long before Christ.
Yeah. Well, the indications that I found would put it back around 3000 B.C., or let's say 2500 B.C.
2,500 years before Christ came to Earth.
Right.
Doctor, but that, to go along with that, to go along with this advanced scientific knowledge, there would have to be, or you would imagine there would be, an advanced civilization of some sort that would benefit from all of this advanced knowledge that was there then.